Yeah, good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Discourse here on Vanguard Live TV, broadcasting to you from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. My name is Bankole Emmanuel. Well, today we are going to be discussing a very interesting topic, and we will be looking at people living with disabilities in Nigeria. Of course, there are a lot of challenges, that we understand, people living with disability in Nigeria are facing, and of course, we will be looking at what are the way forward. Okay, you will recall that recently the federal government of Nigeria just signed into law the Nigerian Disability Bill, and that law provides equal rights and of course opportunities for those living with disabilities, so that they can enjoy same privilege as those who are not. Well, today we have a very interesting and a very interesting guest that would be joining us via Zoom. He would be discussing and of course giving us an in-depth insight into why or what it feels like being a disabled person in Nigeria. Well, it is no other than Mr. Ayodele Awubono. Mr. Ayodele, you're welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
All right, Mr. Ayodele is the chairman, Spinal Cord Injury Association of Nigeria, Ogun State chapter, and of course he's also the Southwest coordinator of Rebuilding Hopes on Wheels initiative. All right, Mr. Ayodele, let's quickly go into the topic of today. We're looking at Nigerians living with disabilities, the challenges, of course, discrimination, non-equal opportunities out there for them, and of course, what exactly is going to be the way forward. Well, before we go into details, I'd like you to quickly let us into what it feels like, being a disabled person in Nigeria.
Thank you, Bankole. Living with disability is traumatic on its own. Not to now talk of living with disability in Nigeria. We thank God that we are making some headway now. That Mr. President signed the Disability Act into law. He went ahead to set up a commission that will look into the implementation of that law. Before now, I would say disability community had been grossly relegated. I'm sure we all know what is obtainable in town. Once they see you as a disabled person, some people see you as a jink person, some people see you as an unfortunate person, and some group of people even see you as somebody that can amount to nothing in life. So living with disability in Nigeria, I would say, it's not too pleasant. Why? The government angle and the societal angle. The government angle not putting in place all what ought to be put in place for people with disability, and the societal angle, which I talk about just now, that they see you, they believe nothing good can ever come out of you, which leads to every other challenge people with disability have. Challenges like stigmatization, not being included in scheme of things generally.
Right. All right. Well, you in your submission, you made it look as if people with disability in Nigeria are not giving a proper attention. But just recently, a bill was signed into law. Is that really the case? Before we actually discuss about the bill that was signed into law, is that really the case that people living with disability in Nigeria are not given the proper attention by the government?
At all, people, we are grossly relegated, like I said initially. The disability matter is a very broad matter. It's a very broad issue, right, that ought to be taken seriously. Before now, that the noise just keep coming from every angle. disability matter in Nigeria is taken is taken with kid glove.
Right.
It's taken as a charity stuff. Any effort you render to a disabled person, they see it as I'm doing charity. You find people, some go to the extent that once I will borrow a Yoruba balance now, kukulo kakulo. You want to do a favor that, oh, let me just go and do sort of appeasement.
Right.
So it is people with disability, they use as such guinea pig stuff. Now, okay, let me just take, maybe once you are having issue with your work or any other thing, they will say, go and appease some people. So they see people with disability as a source of appeasement like that, which ought not to be so. So which goes back to the fact that they see us as a charity stuff, which is not supposed to be so. Once you get close to people living with disability, you will know how brainy all these people are. What do they need? They just need empathy. They need the love of the society.
Brainy, Mr. Ayodele, you talked about, people living with disability as, being brainy, smart people, intelligent people, right? Of course, you also have written a book, for pupils in between the ages of 3 and 6, right? But before we go into that, you were just talking about the way they treat people living with disability in Nigeria. But then, of course, recently a law was signed. The Nigerian Disability Bill was signed into law. Don't you think that would cater for about 25 million people, living with disability in Nigeria?
Yes, you will see in my opening remark, I said we thank Mr. President, right, President Muhammadu Buhari, for deeming it fit to sign. If you know for how long we've been on the agitation for this law to be signed, it's well over 20 years that noise has been on. Find a way to include people with disability, find a way to bring them to the mainstream of event of things, which President Muhammadu Buhari deemed it fit to sign in 2019. And inside that bill, there is a room to create a government agency, which President Muhammadu Buhari went further this year to create that agency, the National Commission for People Living with Disability in Nigeria. Just a few weeks ago, he went ahead to set up the board that will oversee that commission. And that commission, we pray they take office as soon as possible. And we pray the president, the political will he have gotten to push this up to this stage, he continue with that political will to give the commission all the necessary apparatus to work with. It is then we will start jubilating that yes, we are getting closer to our point.
Right.
Setting up the commission.
No, go ahead.
Setting up the commission. Right. Setting up the commission is okay, but the ability to function well, to carry out to the letter all the details of the Disability Act, that is the stage we are in. And I'm sure for the president to have gone this far, I'm sure he won't just jettison us, he won't just leave us alone. He will go ahead to give them all the necessary power to bite.
All right, Mr. Ayodele, before we go, proper into the details of that law, right, and then of course your own NGO, let's quickly take a break and then we'll be back shortly. Well, if you are just joining us, of course, it's still Lunchtime Discourse here on Vanguard Live TV, broadcasting to you from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. And my name is still Bankole Idowimano. Of course, we have been looking at our Nigerians, living with disability, the challenges, of course, and the way forward. Well, do not forget to like all our social media platforms showing on your screen, and equally visit our website www.vanguardngr for breaking stories. Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, of course, it's still lunchtime discussion on Vanguard Live TV. And my name is still Bankole Emmanuel. Well, I've been discussing with Mr. Ayodele Awogono, who is the, of course, chairman of Spinal Cord Injury Association of Nigeria. He has been telling us, what it feels like to be a disabled person in Nigeria. Of course, he has talked about the new signed Nigerian Disability Bill, and of course, we are about going into details of that bill. Mr. Ayodele, you're welcome back to the show.
Thank you. A point of correction before we go ahead. I'm the chairman.
Right.
Spinal Cord Injury Association of Nigeria, who state chapter.
Right.
We still have a national chairman.
Right. All right. Thank you very much for that correction there. Okay, so we were looking at the law that was signed recently. The bill that was signed recently into law, and that's the Nigerian Disability Bill. Okay, before we went on break, we were discussing what it feels like, to be a disabled person in Nigeria, and of course the provisions of the law. Okay, you talked about discrimination, and of course a kind of maltreatment of people that are living with disability. Okay, let us look at the bill. One of the provisions of the bill, states that or made emphasis on the right to life, of course, equality and non-discrimination of persons, with disability. How do you ensure that, the major tenets of this law are followed to the letter?
That is the work of the commission that is just set up now.
Right.
The commission, they have the sole responsibility to look at the bill from A to Z and make sure they start work on how all the letters of the bill will be implemented. That was why I was saying at the beginning that we pray the Mr. President still have give the commission the political, all the strength. Let me just say, all the strength.
Mr. Ayodele, can you tell us what your association, does in this regard? How does your association come into all of this? Because I understand that you are also the Southwest coordinator of Rebuilding Hopes on Wheels initiative. How do you ensure that this law, is adhered to?
It's been a collaborative work up to this point.
Right.
We've been advocating, like I said, for years. Some started before us, and some have even died in this struggle. So that is number one part, that we were successful for the bill to have gotten to this stage. That is work of so many people. My association, my national association inclusive, plus so many non-governmental organizations that are advocating for people living with disability. So it has been a collaborative thing between all clusters of the disability community and all NGOs. So we are not going to stop, we are not going to relent. We thank God the commission the board had been set up now. We wait for their inauguration, and I'm sure we have so many credible people on that board. So once they are inaugurated, I'm 100% sure they will hit the ground running. So I'm not sure there will be any need for us to make any noise again, since all the members of the board, everybody on that board, they represent every different clusters of disability. So invariably, everybody on that board lives with disability. So they know where the shoe pinches, and they will know how they will make sure all the letters of the act start working in favor of the disability community.
Well, you sounded very optimistic, about the bill that was signed into law. Are you really hopeful that it will end all forms of discrimination against people living with disability, especially when it has to do with getting equal opportunities from government agencies and other private sectors too.
Yes, we are very optimistic. At least for it to have gotten to this stage where, give or take, it has been working in Lagos State to some extent. And with this national backing now, I'm 100% sure soon before we know it, it will just take time.
Right.
In the act, I'm sure, if I could remember well, there is a transitory period. I think that should be like 5 years or thereabout, that for everybody to key into it. What does that mean? That means for like the access or the issue of accessibility now, for every public building to be accessible. I think that's where that transitory period comes in. Everybody must key into that in the next 5 years. After that 5 years, if I get to your office and I can't enter, I can sue you. As we talk today now, if we get a bank that an average disabled person can enter, I'm not sure we can get up to 2 or 3 banks. Every other banks, my bank in Agowe here, I'll get to a bank, they will have to attend to me outside. Why I can't access the banking hall? After the transitory period now, if this happen, I can sue that entity. They will pay me fine. They will be fined. All those.
Okay, so that has to do with public facilities, that ensures that people with
that's just an example from the letter of the bill. There are so many things. I get to your workplace, I'm qualified, that I know. There are things that you will write an exam, you will pass probably because of your disability. I'll give you an example. There was a time I was seeking for a loan to push my books, to publish my books. I got to a point I had to approach a bank without no fault of mine, without anything. I have a good product. One of their marketers confided in me, Ayo, you have a good product, but our bank can't attend to you. True to it, I got to the bank, I present my case. What was the response I got? Hey, we are sorry, we don't let disabled people money. So you can imagine the height of discrimination. Not just for anything, they said we don't let disabled people money, and that was the end. That took me back to square one, which I have to be getting here and there before I could get the book published there. So in a situation that the bill is functional now, nobody will even toil with that language that we don't let disabled people money. You will be fined heavily and you pay me compensation in a heavy way. Once you know the burden of what's on you, you won't joke with it. I'm sure you will agree that with me.
Okay, let us look at public facilities, because of course we understand that for someone who has some form of physical disability, let's take for instance a cripple, right? Accessing public transport might be a little bit difficult, right? That's one. Then maybe using the walkway too would be a very great challenge for such person. Okay, what are you doing? What's your association doing to ensure that even government, creates a level playing field in this regard?
My association in Nogo State now, we just embark on aggressive sensitization of the society. What do we want to achieve with that? We want the society generally now, not government. We want the society generally to know that one, disability is not immune. It's not immune to anybody. Anybody can be disabled at any point in time in life. How do you want to be treated if it had been you? One of the problems, you made mention of transportation now.
Right.
Once I get out there, I flag out a taxi, they see me, they see my wheelchair, they will be happy that they caught a big fish. Why? They know I don't have any option. They know I just have to ride. They know I'm going somewhere that I needed to get there. So they will charge me. We'll start haggling price. If we go to a point that I won't have option, any other option, that let me just pay so that I can get to where I'm going.
Right.
If that taxi driver had seen me as this could have been me, why will you charge me double charge? Even what am I saying? 100%, 1000% increase in a fare of which ordinary person can just hop in and get there. But because you know I don't have an option, I just have to get there, you will charge me and we'll start haggling. At the end of the day, we'll reach a compromise, which ought not to be so. I'm going down the street, 100 naira should be 100 naira, not that you will see the wheelchair and be charging 1,000 naira because you know I don't have option. That's one. Once that is taken up for the society that this person can be me and it can even be my son or my daughter or my sibling, let me treat this person how I wanted to be treated. We'll get there. Not almost all what we are saying is not about government. Once the society, once they look at you, they see you, they know you have the brain. If they can rally around you, let's see what is it that you can do. Not that they will be giving you pittance. They will be giving you take it so that you don't die. Once they know that sooner or later if they empower you, you too you can be a labor. You can employ so many labor. You can feed so many people. Why not let us harness that? That is one of the sensitization my association is doing in Oguse right now. Right. To sensitize the society to see the good in us, to see the reason to come closer to us, to see the reason not to be showing pity but empathy. Come closer. Hey, Mr. Man, what can you do? How can I help you? Not just from afar, looking us from afar and be pity. You know all those kind of things. Get closer to any disabled people you know, any disabled person you know. What is it you can offer, Mr. Man? See how you can advise. See how you can help polish that inbuilt knowledge, inbuilt talent, right, that can push that person from this point to the next possible point of his life. Not that you be giving them whereby degrading their life dignity in that process.
That was indeed a very, very horrible experience, Mr. Ayodele. Well, we hope that with the new bill in place, it stems the tide of some of these discriminations out there against people living with disability. But then before we let you go, Mr. Ayo, you've written a book, you've done some other couple of things for yourself, especially being a researcher too. Can you just tell us more about what you have been doing in the past few years?
By the grace of God, I live with spinal cord injury. One of the reasons I was hammering on the point that disability is not immune to anybody. On that fateful day, I went out with the hope of making something for myself. Unfortunately, I had the accident. Unfortunately, they proclaimed spinal cord injury, and that's how I've been rolling for the past 23 years. I thank God for the kind of support system I get. That is my immediate family. They rally around me at first, which gave me that hope that it's not the end of the world. It was when my family came in with that huge support, that was when external people started seeing how can this guy roll. That was how I got the inspiration to put up those books for nursery and primary school pupils, and we keep moving like that. That was what pushed me into researching, which I would say I'm a freelance researcher. You contact me with any issue, we go all out, we'll solve. And as God will have it again, and with the quest to continue being an impact in the society, at least so as one can be able to contribute his positive quota to the society. I started a plantain farm early this year. So I'm saying all this for other people living with disability to know that disability is not the end of the world. It's just an interesting world that we just need to learn how to live in it. That's why I'm also begging the society not to see all disabled people as never do well or unfortunate or jinx or hey, this one, don't let me go near it. It is when you get closer to them, you know what they can offer. That is when you can help them to polish it and bring out the best in them. With that, we'll be having lesser people on the street begging for harm. When they know that you getting closer to them, you want to give them a clear-cut path, a good path to succeed in life. Nobody will see a path of success and say he won't follow that path. Once he knows, sooner or later he too will get there. He will be earning legitimate money, not this time around. That's where we want the society to have a positive outlook of every person living with disability. Not that you look at you see somebody in a wheelchair, not that it is that wheelchair you'll be seeing, but see that person, see what that person can offer. And that's why we are begging the government again with the commission in place now. Probably if all the state government can domesticate this bill, it will be good for everybody. Before we know it, we'll have lesser people begging for arms on the road. If the commission is up and doing and the bill is well implemented, that will solve the number one problem, the major problem of people living with disability, which is accessibility. Accessibility for the deaf, let's take them for example now, they can, once they sick, it will be very difficult for them to access health system, because how will they communicate with the doctor? The blind too, how will they communicate? Fine, they can talk, but in a situation where they wrote a prescription for them, how are they going to read it without the normal braille, whatever they use? Talk less of we living on wheelchair. How do we access? Once a disabled people, they lost access to all these basic things, they are excluded from scheme of things, which will now lead to poverty. People living with disability, a good percentage of people living with disability are living in poverty. Why? Because they are excluded in almost every scheme of things. Once they look at it, they include them in scheme of things, they are accessible to every information needed. When there is work in government circle, when there is anything in government circle, once they have access to such information, the brainy people among us can access it. Once there is no button because you are disabled, for example, the time I approach the bank for loan, when there is nothing like that, we will get there sooner before we know it.
Wow, many thanks, Mr. Ayodele Awobono, for coming on the show. Well, of course, you have spoken so well, about what you feel should be the way forward, and of course, I'm sure that the authorities in charge have listened to you, and of course, proper action should or would be taken in that regard. Once again, many thanks for coming on the show, Mr. Awobono, Ayodele Awobono.
Thank you.
Thank
it's
you very
my pleasure.
much. Yeah, thank you. Well, there you have it. Of course, being disabled, of course, it's not the end of the world, and of course, it also comes with a lot of other things that you can actually benefit. Of course, people out there should not see those that are disabled as just people that you give arms to. Of course, there are a lot of them that have, so many things they can still offer the society, and of course we should try to encourage them, and of course try to bring out the best out of them at all times. My name is Bankole Ido Imano. Do not forget to follow us on all our social media showing on your screen, and of course visit our website www.vanguardngr.com to get breaking stories, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel Vanguard NGR TV, where you find all the interesting videos. That is where we stop for today. Thanks for staying with us.
Thank you.